And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out.
What Ryan Reynolds, has seemingly done, right, is used his power and influence to not only help Blake Lively take over this movie, but, he's used it, on Deadpool and to make fun of Justin Baldoni.
The timing of Joe Rogan's criticism of Ryan Reynolds couldn't be worse. Fans are beginning to turn against Hollywood's favorite wisecracking anti-hero because of Marvel's alleged destruction of the Deadpool series. Will this be the end of Reynolds' career or simply another Marvel disaster? Here's the scoop for years because this story is completely crazy, so let's dissect it all. In addition to portraying Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds was essentially the face of the franchise, contributing a degree of creativity that made him Marvel's golden boy. Freedom that no other MCU star possessed. But behind the scenes, rumors indicate that Marvel executives started to worry about Ryan's level of control over the Deadpool franchise, in contrast to other Marvel stars who merely appeared on screen and let the studio run things. Because Ryan was heavily involved in Deadpool's development, he had a say in the writing, casting, and marketing, which initially gave him a lot of influence. After all, Ryan saved after revealing test video in 2014, Deadpool from development, hell pushed to have the first movie made. However, insiders said that Ryan continued to increase his power over time, which is when Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni entered the picture. On paper, Blake Lively had committed to a movie called It Ends With Us, which was based on Colleen Hoover's best-selling book. It had all the elements of a great movie, including a talented cast and a director known for crafting moving stories. However, things weren't as smooth as they first appeared. Blake and Baldoni's alleged problems seemed to be small creative disputes, the kind that frequently occur on movie sets. Blake, who is renowned for her meticulous approach to her work, had always been heavily involved in the creative direction of her productions. However, according to reports, she began to feel marginalized when Baldoni assumed the positions of main actor and co-writer in addition to director. According to industry insiders, Blake had envisioned her character as the emotional center of the film, but she quickly realized that much of the attention was on Bal's vision, performance, and adaptation of the beloved novel. This level of control gave him significant influence over how the story was shaped, how characters were developed, and ultimately how the film would be perceived. This reportedly didn't sit well with her. Although it's normal for actresses to have input on their parts, some sources reported that she pushed for rewrites, saying that her character deserved a larger arc and a more central role in the narrative. According to people close to the production, tensions increased as Blake's requests for alterations began to clash with Baldwin's creative vision.
I mean, honestly, the way that I get into a character is through their style. So it was more about who Lily is that was so fascinating to me, is that she's a walking, talking contradiction, yet it's perfectly harmonious for her.
And I'm excited to have a creative partner in that with you. And it's just really exciting. There's so much more to say. There's so much I want to say. There's one thing that I do need to say, which is I am so sorry you have been through what you've been through with these other filmmakers and producers or whoever the people were that you worked with. It just pissed me off. Those I'm just still kind of blown away that this is the industry that we're in and that you've experienced that as a woman. And I know I don't need to say it, but that's not at all going to be or will be, and hopefully it's not been the experience with me. There's nothing more exciting to me like that I get to work with Blake Lively and have her, all of her. I mean, that's what I want. And so there's been no hesitancy with me sending you the final draft file. I am totally fine with that. The only reason I didn't send it today was because I was trying to implement and add your notes into my working draft, which is already like I'm all over that draft right now. So there's a whole bunch of new stars that are going to be collated pages. And I just haven't had a chance to send it to you.
As the power struggle intensified, there were rumors that Blake was becoming more and more irritated with the way the movie was being portrayed in the media. She allegedly thought that press coverage and promotional materials were highlighting Ballin's involvement over hers, and some even said that she thought about leaving the project at one point because she felt her contributions weren't being valued as much as she had anticipated the charges, which were the true twist. If true, Blake allegedly thought that Baldoni was spreading unfavorable information about her, portraying her as demanding, controlling, and difficult on set. This is a serious accusation because Hollywood has a long history of unfairly labeling female actors as difficult when they voice their creative opinions. However, just as the public started to support Blake's side of the story, a startling development changed everything. Instead of portraying Baldoni as the mastermind behind the media attacks, leaked text messages appear to indicate that Blake was behind the scenes directing a plot to manipulate the story. In these texts, she allegedly referred to her allies, including her husband Ryan Reynolds, as her dragons. This statement instantly raised questions about whether she was using her connections in Hollywood to change the media's opinion of her, or if she had industry insiders working behind the scenes to counterbalance Baldwin's influence, at which point, Marvel began to pay. Deadpool movies have always been known for their self-aware humor, with Ryan frequently breaking the fourth wall to poke fun at celebrities, movie studios, and even the MCU itself. However, according to reports, Deadpool 3 contained multiple jokes that directly mocked Baldoni, and they weren't just harmless jabs. This is because if Blake was using Ryan's influence to shift power in Hollywood, could Ryan have been doing the same inside Marvel? Executives reportedly started looking into Ryan's role in Deadpool 3, and what they discovered may have prompted them to take legal action.
And I guess you've already met Mary Poppins, aka Dogpool. Careful where you put your hand. She's 90% G-spot, and she'll let you know it. You let this little flirt out of your sight for 1 second, and she starts shopping for a new papa. If you can't be a responsible pet owner, then maybe you don't deserve this little unicorn. Guilty on all charges, Your Honor. It shan't happen again.
Insiders claim that this was a thinly veiled attack at Baldoni, whose image in Hollywood is based on his inspirational, feel-good approach to filmmaking. But the jokes didn't end there. This is where things get really ugly again. Another scene purportedly showed Deadpool making fun of a Hollywood director-turned-actor who insisted on playing the lead in his own movies, even though he was unfit for the part. This reportedly matched Baldwin's real-life role as both director and star in his next film with Blake, in which Marvel executives allegedly intervened and demanded. Some jokes may have been removed from early screenings, but others were rewritten, out of concern that they would expose the company to legal criticism. According to sources, Ryan battled to keep them in the final cut, which caused friction with Marvel executives. This conflict went beyond a single joke. When one of their biggest stars used a major MCU film to settle personal scores, it was a serious problem. Marvel, which prides itself on having strong relationships with directors and actors, started to examine Ryan's influence on the franchise and wonder if his control over Deadpool was becoming a liability.
Well, that is also accurate and weirdly high praise as well. It was just one of those. It felt like a live-action Pixar movie. It was something that, I wanted to do something where nobody was being stabbed in the face.
Yes.
There was almost no blood at all. I think I got a little paper cut on the movie. That was about it. And something that my kids can watch, but also as a parent, too, you want the parents need to get punched right in the heart as well.
After following months of internal deliberations, Marvel decided to bring an extraordinary lawsuit against Ryan Reynolds. That's when the lawsuit bombshell landed. According to rumors, Marvel's top priority was brand protection. If Ryan was using Deadpool 3 to make fun of Baldoni, it set a risky precedent. This wasn't just about creative issues. It was about controlling the future of the MCU. What if Ryan Reynolds, one of Marvel's most well-known actors, began to overshadow the actual franchise? This would be a breaking point for the company, as they could no longer permit an actor, no matter how well-known, to control the narrative of one of their largest properties if future Marvel stars used their movies to settle personal grievances. Their largest issue was untouchable stars. The case rocked Hollywood right away. Ryan Reynolds, who had established himself as an untouchable comedy icon, was suddenly in danger of losing his most well-known role. To make matters worse, other studios began to put major film projects on hold while they awaited the outcome of the lawsuit. Meanwhile, Blake Lively's meticulously manicured Hollywood persona took a hit. In addition to implying that she was scheming behind the scenes, the stolen emails gave the impression that she had significant industry power to sway narratives for years in her favor. Blake had upheld her image as a refined, elegant actress who steered clear of messy public disputes and managed her career with a certain amount of strategic precision. But the leaked messages suddenly brought a distinct viewpoint fans and industry. Insiders debated whether Blake was just a shrewd businesswoman defending her interests, or if she had gone too far in using her power to control the media. The term dragons, which she allegedly used to describe her allies, including her husband Ryan Reynolds, only sparked rumors about whether these were merely devoted supporters, or if this was a planned attempt to control the film's narrative at Baldwin's expense.
Like a Hollywood actor and actress, in most circumstances, you're dealing with someone who probably has some narcissistic tendencies. I'm not saying everyone, the majority. This is why we have these stereotypes about Hollywood, right? They're not people that treat people well. They're all just trying to climb to the top, and they'll do anything to get there.
However, Blake was under examination. The fallout didn't end there. Ryan Reynolds, who is renowned for his easy charm, sarcasm, and quick wit, was also abruptly thrown into the debate. He stopped tweeting and stopped making jokes, not in the Deadpool vein astute cracks. The quiet was startling for someone who established a whole image around being candid and unexpected, without making lighthearted jabs at Hollywood's expense.
Retrospect, this is all just so scary. It feels like a form of abuse against Blake. And she's not a victim of any of this. She's totally bratty, and we've gone through her messages as well. But I am just saying that the fact that he doesn't want to be apart from her, and now he's inserted himself into every layer of this movie, something's very wrong here, okay?
Eyebrows were raised by the lack of response. Was Ryan truly taken aback by the circumstances, or was he remaining silent to prevent stoking the flames? Given that any mistake may turn the tide against him, some supporters conjectured that he was taking a step back to safeguard his career. Others questioned whether Marvel, one of Hollywood's most influential studios, had advised him to keep his head down while they evaluated the matter.
Relationship with my father, which was very complicated and difficult. My dad was a very, I come from a middle class, kind of blue collar home, and my dad was just of that generation where it's just like, he was Clint Eastwood, and less is more. Simple grunts is how he communicated.
Okay, gotcha.
I think people tell themselves stories, and this sort of comes back to your worldview that you just mentioned about.
And things took a sharp turn at that point. There were rumors that Marvel Studios was reevaluating its relationship with Ryan Reynolds. At first, this seemed excessive because Reynolds was the main character in Deadpool, a series that had defied expectations and turned into one of the studio's biggest R-rated hits. However, there were also reports that Marvel was already looking into new creative directions, for the character was giving rise to rumors that the studio was thinking of recasting Ryan, which was an impossible scenario. He had spent years persuading studios to take a risk on the irreverent fourth-wall-breaking anti-hero, and when they did, it became one of his defining roles. Deadpool was more than just another job for him. It was his passion project. Losing. Deadpool would involve more than simply leaving a popular series. It would mean losing a part of his acting personality.
There's no question it relates to Justin. I mean, anybody that can watch that, the hair bun, the comment about the pregnancy. I mean, it's pretty obvious what's being done. But again, like if somebody is seriously sexually harassed, you don't make fun of it. It's a serious issue.
With revelation number one, which was that we were totally correct about Ryan Reynolds. What is that, like, personality test? Is it called like an Enneagram personality type 1 through 9? Well, Ryan Reynolds on the Enneagram is a psycho. That's what he is. He's just a psycho. His number is psycho. And we had suspected just by piecing together everything that he didn't want Blake Lively to be away from him. Remember, I built out the timeline and I worked through it and I realized that, oh, this is interesting. Like Ryan Reynolds is filming at the same time as Blake Lively. He's also doing his Wrexham football stuff and they're basically apart. And I'm sure he popped back a few times, but for like 4 months scheduled to be apart in a different country. And yeah, I felt that Ryan was kicking up some dust because he didn't want to leave Blake Lively alone with Justin Baldoni.
The question that everyone is currently wondering is whether Marvel is overreacting or if Ryan Reynolds overreached himself. If the studio thinks he contributed to the drama that took place behind the scenes, they may decide he is too much of a liability. But if they cut ties with him, they run the risk of offending a sizable fan base that views Ryan as being synonymous with the character.
The next movie script, I am going to invest myself everywhere. I'm going to be doing your movie premiere. I'm going to be doing promos and making fun of you, right? I'm going to put myself in the end credits. Like, this is like psychotic behavior, okay? And as long as Ryan's a lot smarter than her, and she therefore allows him to manipulate and control every layer of his life, so long as she can just, be the princess, essentially, okay? Blake Lively is not a good person, that she has proven herself not to be a kind person, okay? And that's largely due to the fact that she is a modern feminist, and so she has to create struggle where there just isn't any, okay? She has a track record of being difficult to work with, from Armie Hammer, who got fired from Gossip Girl because he said during a dinner that she was a bitch, regarding Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, when I just recognize that they are up on their high horses and that they potentially treat people very badly and that really they're bored and rich. Another circumstance that made me see right through Ryan Reynolds and the kind of person that he is when, despite being friends with Joe Alwyn, who dated Taylor Swift for 5 years, she's best friends with Blake Lively, Ryan and Blake and 2 other of her friends all staged a mass unfollowing of Joe Alwyn like they were 13 years old. Okay, Ryan, you're 48 years old. Grow up. Literally grow up. I have not seen a case so open and shut in my life, and the more that I read and the more details that I get into, I'm just shocked at how many lies were told, okay?
If Marvel decides to proceed without him in the end, the stakes could not be higher. It would be difficult to recover from such a loss. Will Ryan and Blake be able to weather this storm and emerge victorious? Or will the power they once possessed finally turn against them? This marks the end of Ryan Reynolds' reign as Hollywood's shrewd, cracking anti-hero. Comment below with your thoughts on whether Deadpool as we know it is coming to an end. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and enable notifications for more stunning Hollywood updates. Trust me, this story is far from done.